This tutorial is on finding and fixing sentence fragments. Here are some examples of run-on sentences and sentence fragments. Sentence fragments and run-on sentences are among the worst offenders when it comes to writing. If you can practice these two concepts and master them, your writing will improve significantly. All sentences need to be a complete thought. Ask yourself, is there a subject? Is there a verb? Is it a complete thought? You can have a subject and a verb, and it will look like a complete sentence, but if it's not a complete thought, it is not a complete sentence. If you can answer yes to all three of these questions, then you have a complete sentence. What is a sentence fragment? It's an incomplete sentence. You need to make sure that all of your sentences are complete sentences. I suggest trying the door test. Pretend that you just walked through the door into a crowded classroom. You look at everyone and say, "Because it's snowing." What do you think will happen? Everyone's going to look at you and wonder what in the world you're talking about. If your sentence won't pass the door test, you're dealing with a sentence fragment. Let's look at some different types of fragments and how to fix them. The dependent clause fragment. Whenever you start a sentence with a dependent word, also called a subordinating conjunction, there is a possibility that a fragment will result. Some common dependent words are after, although, because, in order that, when, while, and until. Here's a fragment using a dependent word, since. Since yesterday. Will this pass the door test? No, it won't. So this is a fragment. How are we going to fix it? We're going to add to the sentence to make it a complete sentence. We're going to add a subject and a verb. I have not eaten since yesterday. I is your subject, and have not eaten is your verb. Notice that because the dependent word is in the middle of the sentence, we do not need to add a comma. When we use the dependent word at the beginning of the sentence, however, we need to add a comma after the dependent clause, which is since yesterday. Another type of fragment is the added detail fragment. The added detail fragment doesn't contain a subject or a verb. Added detail fragments often begin with the words also, especially, except, for example, including, and such as. I hate being late. Is this a complete sentence? It has a subject, I, it has a verb, hate, and it is a complete thought, I hate being late. Especially for class. Is that a complete sentence? No, that is a fragment. How are we going to fix this fragment? Well, one way to fix it is to add it to the sentence before it. I hate being late, especially for class. Some other types of fragments are sentences that start with the word to or end in ing, or words that end in en. He went to the store to buy bread. To buy bread is an added detail to the first sentence, but when you set it off by itself, it's a fragment. We can fix it by simply adding it to the sentence before it. He went to the store to buy bread. Another fragment, the graduates hugged their proud parents. That's a complete sentence. Smiling and carrying diplomas. That is not a complete sentence. Notice that the two words smiling and carrying both end in ing. These are signals to you that you might be dealing with a sentence fragment. We can fix it by adding the two sentences together. Smiling and carrying diplomas, the graduates hugged their proud parents. We just simply took the fragment and put it in front of the other sentence. This fragment, the kids made it to school, That's a complete sentence. Driven by their mom is a fragment. The kids were driven to school by their mom. Now we've just taken the two sentences and put them together, and now we have a complete thought, a complete sentence. Another type of fragment is the missing subject fragment. Some fragments contain a verb but no subject. In this fragment, it says Diaz prepares a budget, but never uses it. Maybe someday he will realize that budgets should be maintained. Which one of these sentences is the fragment? If you guessed but never uses it, you're correct, because who never uses it? We didn't say. There's no subject. We can correct it by adding a pronoun for Diaz. Diaz prepares a budget, but he never uses it. Now we don't have a fragment anymore. We have a complete sentence. Another way to fix it, we can connect it to the first sentence. Diaz prepares a budget, but never uses it. Another type of fragment is the example and exception fragment. Jamie never seems to be able to hold a job. That's a complete sentence. In spite of the technical expertise she brings to each position. This is a sentence fragment. Again, if you run the door test on this, you walk in the room and you say to everyone, in spite of the technical expertise she brings to each position. Are they going to know what you're talking about? I don't think so. Didn't pass the door test, it's a fragment. We can fix it by adding the two sentences together. Jamie never seems to be able to hold a job in spite of the technical expertise she brings to each position. The top model said that she had flaws in her appearance, just like anyone else. For example, a tiny gap between her two front teeth. The first sentence is a complete sentence. The second is not. Again, run the door test on it, and it fails. We can correct the sentences by adding them together. The top model said that she had flaws in her appearance, just like anyone else. For example, she had a tiny gap between her two front teeth. Here's another one. Due to the fact I can't work the computer. This is a fragment. We need to add more information here. Due to the fact I can't work the computer, I could not get the work done. Or you could say, I could not get the work done due to the fact I can't work the computer. You just needed to add more information. The prepositional phrase fragment. A prepositional phrase tells you where something is on the table. He put his book down on the table. We need to add on the table, the fragment, to the sentence before it. He put his book down on the table. Remember, read every sentence out loud. Run the door test on every sentence. Have someone else read your essay out loud. Finally, run your essay through a spell or grammar checker to catch any fragments or run-ons that you might have missed. And if you still need help, stop by the Learning Center and ask about getting some tutoring, or you can join us for one of our workshops. Till next time.